I'm seeking Zion, I'm seeking truth, I'm searching for the way to find my place with you. I want the promise, I want the call, to know my purpose here, to give to you my
Welcome
all.
in to another Key of David podcast. My name is Shane Baldwin. I am joined by David the Lion. I like it when he has David the Lion Douglas because he's David Douglas. He went from the Lion, now he's added the David. He's trying to figure out his name. I gave him the name the Lion. David the Lion Douglas to me just sounds really good because it's David the Lion Douglas. And I'm joined by Brian. Brian just has his first name there, so I don't know that he wants you fangirling over him. So it's just Brian. And Brian has the coolest hair. Brian wins the award for our show for coolest hair. Brian, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. I am super excited about this one, and it is the wee hours of the morning. We were supposed to be filming this podcast this evening. I have a birthday party for my son. I wasn't able to do it, and Brian accommodated me by saying I can do it at 7 a.m. And David the Lion Douglas, of course, he's here. Trevor the Keys, he's not here. You know why? Because he's asleep. Because Trevor needs his beauty sleep. Trevor is different than me. Trevor goes to sleep at like 2 or 3 in the morning and wakes up at 8 or 9. I go to bed at 10:30. I wake up at 4:35 in the morning. So I'm a morning person. That's how I roll. So I've already been up and at 'em and got a little bit of a workout in and now doing a podcast. So really excited to have you, Brian. We're going to be talking about some really interesting things. And I went to dinner, 2 nights ago, Brian?
Yep.
With you and your wife. And your wife is awesome, dude. She is money. So Brian did good in that category for sure. We're going to actually be hearing her on this podcast, but she's not going to be visiting us in person, just by voice. We're going to get into that. There's a lot of people, including Trevor the Keys, and of course, he's not here, that's like, nah, I don't believe in the Zodiac. I think it's a bunch of garbage. I think it's very pagan-y. I think it's very whatever, blah, 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 blah. And people don't buy into it. I do. I actually think it means something. And I think if you're born in Leo, like I am, like David the Lion Douglas is, you see, he's a young Leo, Brian. He's what is it, July 23rd or 25th?
23rd.
He's a July 23rd. So young Leo. I'm an old Leo. I'm an old lion. And Brian sat down with me and went through my, what do you call it, Brian?
Your natal chart.
My what?
Natal chart or birth chart.
My birth chart, and blew me away. And then we started playing around. You guys know that I love numbers. Then we started throwing numbers into it. And it's like, oh my gosh, we're doing algebra now. All of a sudden, we went from doing multiplication and division, doing numbers separate, doing Zodiac separate. And then when you combine the two, it's like, okay, we've hit something. And one of the things that people dog on the Zodiac for is they're like, it's not scriptural. It's not in the scriptures.
Wait
just a second. We're going to show you, not only is Joseph Smith a prophet, he's definitely a prophet. Because there's no way, with what Brian has discovered, that Joseph Smith could just come up with this on his own. Oh yeah, I'm going to weave the Zodiac perfectly into the very first book of the Book of Mormon, into the book of First Nephi. So we're going to be talking about Zodiacs. I'm going to actually, if you can, Brian, I'm going to actually have you do kind of what you did with me. We're going to do it live. And so bear with us. Maybe you need your phone to do it. So you're like, Shane, I can't do that. But I want you to do it for David the Lion Douglas. At the very least, I want him to give you his birthday as a young Leo, and you can kind of talk about what that means for him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't have my phone because it's filming, but I can give a little bit right now of the difference between a young Leo and an old Leo. And that is they're in different decans. There's 3 different decans of the sign.
Go big on him. Go big on him. I want to hear this.
So the first decan Leo is more of a I am type energy. It's more brought into the self. And think of the energy just being more concentrated. But when you get to the later signs and you get to a middle decan Leo, like a second decan Leo, it's going to be more about its partnership. It will shoot its energy outwards just a little bit, if that makes sense. And then when you get to the third decan Leo, the late Leo, the old Leo, it's a little bit more spread out. It's more about community, people, the world. Like it's a little bit bigger in its energy that way.
But the gathering, you said, right? A late Leo's about gathering. So a young Leo's kind of like, I don't want to say this, sorry, David, kind of like self-centered, kind of like it's all about them. They want to know it's all, hey, and it is what it is, right? And I don't think David is a self-centered guy, but I understand what you're saying. And it's important that we understand that, because if we are a young Leo and we know we can be selfish because of that, we should know that. And we should try to, now, Brian, just because that's what the chart says, does that mean that's how we have to behave?
No, evolution changes those things so much. Like one person with an I am energy could be a little more in their evolved state, could be a little bit more conscious of how other people feel, because they're more wired to think of, oh, if I was them, I would feel this. And so it can act in a very evolved way. But
so there's 2 sides of it. You can learn the good side of it. What would be the bad side of it?
It could be self-centered. It could be incredibly reclusive at times. But once again, our charts are so nuanced that we have so many other planets and placements and contradictions and paradoxes that we're kind of left to choose a lot. We're given a lot of different stuff in our charts. There's very few of us that have only first decan, for example. So you got to look at the whole chart.
But before we jump into First Nephi, I just want to ask you some questions. I know you're LDS. Did you grow up LDS?
Yeah.
Okay. So you grew up in the church, born in the church?
Correct.
Okay. And so you've been around the church, involved in the church. Just for those of you who know, Brian builds homes. He's in Jesus's family business. So he's in the family business. And I know who he is, because Revelation talks about guys like him. Go read Revelation 9. Pay attention to as it describes these guys. He's got a bad energy. And he's one of those guys that he wants to destroy wickedness. He wants to destroy people that are like cabal-natured people that are in power, bad people doing bad things. And he's a big guy. How tall are you? You're like 6'3", 6'4". Dude, I would not mess with him. Yeah. Dude, I saw him. I'm like, whoa, dude. Just a bad A dude. Totally. I got in trouble for using my swear words on here. So I'm trying to monitor myself because I understand our viewers. So I hope our viewers give me grace. I play golf, and so that's where I picked up that habit. Okay. So Brian, how did you get into the Zodiac and kind of studying these things, and how'd you get interested in it?
First off, I had a friend, and she was a bit older than me, and she was always telling me about the Zodiac stuff. And it was one of those things as a friend you just kind of tolerate. And this is over a decade ago. And she was like, Brian, you're an Aries, this. And it was like all day long, that's all she talked about. And I found out that she wouldn't even bring it up to other people. Like, she was like a really good astrologer, but a secret astrologer. And I was like, whatever. And then I'm starting to see these things in scripture, and I'm like, oh, there's more to this. And
can you tell me, like, because you know your chart really well, obviously. Do you mind sharing, like, there's a lot of people that are probably Aries, and they're like, I want to know. Can you talk about Aries, because you know it so well, because you are Aries? What does that mean? And go into like what it means for you and what you've discovered for yourself as you kind of, delved into your own star chart.
Yeah. Aries is the I am of the Zodiac, and it's the first Zodiac sign. It's the child of the Zodiac, and it kind of is more like the main character of the story. So it's just kind of, it's very simple. It's the most work sign. It's
What
kind
was
of like provide. Jesus was also an Aries.
Okay, so tell me, keep going. This is good. So that makes sense.
So it can be in its unevolved state, can be like a hot-tempered child, if that makes sense, that could even turn to violence. And Jesus manifested that a little bit with the whip at the temple, right? Because it's also known as the god of war, right? But it's also can be a very playful energy, like joke around, have fun, or innocent. Like it's not always thinking of mischief, but just kind of acts on more on boredom. Think of it as like a big kid.
Like people that like to play pranks.
Yeah,
Ask the
really
teacher.
fall into that a lot.
Okay. Okay.
Be a
So
little less, but yes.
explain to me, like, if Jesus is an Aries, how did he manifest that energy?
Well, this was prophesied all along. I think that's what people may not realize, that the scriptures are prophesying on these signs. He had that personality beforehand. And when he's saying, I am that I am's identifying the Lamb of God sign Aries. And then they're prophesying about the Lamb of God. Aries is the Lamb. It's the Ram, Zodiac. These were foreshadowed to show his birth time.
So Aries is the lamb?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're wondering if this is hokey pokey woo woo stuff, just stay tuned. It's in the scriptures. When did you find that this stuff is like laced in the scriptures?
Oh, I had a Hebrew Mormon friend that was brought up as a Jew. Think of like the Abram Gileadi type, and he was the one that introduced me to these concepts. He was like, listen, like the early Jews believed in the Zodiac, and they knew these things. And he started pointing out a few instances in the Book of Mormon back years ago for me, and it kind of caught fire, and I found more. So here to share that.
So you do this more as a hobby, right? If somebody wanted you, if somebody said, Brian, I want you to do my Zodiac, could somebody reach out to you and Venmo you some money to do it? Or like, how does that work? Do you do any of that kind of work?
Yeah, we do. We get quite a bit of request. People tend to like our version of it because we can kind of show those things in the scriptures. And I would say we're more of a hybrid astrologer, astrotheologer, to where we understand science and nature, and we bring in a lot of like what's happening there during the season of people's birth. And so far, it's been pretty popular. They like our kind of popular spin to it.
Well, when we were at dinner and you were laying mine out, I was like, oh my gosh. So what do people need to know in order to be able to get you? And how would they get in contact with you? Let's just post that right now. How would somebody get in contact with you if they wanted you to do, a reading? What do you call it?
They can always come to our channel and post in our comments. That's one way, which is the Ancient Cosmic Clock. They also can send me an email at themagicalworldview@gmail.com.
The Magical
Worldview
at gmail.com. David will post that up here in just a second as well. Okay, the Magical Worldview at gmail.com. And what do they just say? Hey, what do you charge? Is it different based on what they want? Do you have like a set fee?
We've always just done it by donations. Like, I would hate to exclude somebody that was poor, for example. So I'm not too worried about that. But we do spend a lot of money on graphics on our channel, and it's been kind of a money pit so far. So we do accept donations, but we kind of leave it up to the person what they feel.
Freaking love this dude. I love this dude. But I want people to understand what he's saying is like, I'm not going to, like, if you can afford $2 or you can afford $200 or you can afford $1,000, like whatever you think it's worth to you. And I love that. People don't do that in today's world. They're like, here's our packages. And so if you want this is the package. And then it precludes people that can't afford those packages. So dude, thank you for tuning in. I think that's how kind of the law of consecration works. It's like, hey man, like give what you can. So thanks for living that law as it comes to this kind of stuff. And I know you're passionate about it, right? You also have a background legit in building homes, right?
Right.
So does that play into an Aries? Because we know Jesus was also kind of like a stonemason, carpenter, home builder, whatever you want to call it.
That's where it gets more nuanced. When you get into their rising sign, you can start to see their career more. So you find
what that means, the rising sign.
So the rising sign is their outward persona, their body, and that's why we have metaphors in scripture, such as the Samson story where he slays the lion, and then honey comes out of the lion. It's a symbol of the gospel message coming out of the body of the lion, for example. And Jesus was born under the sign of Leo, and Leo meaning Leo, the Leo constellation aligned on the eastern horizon when he died. That means that Jesus received the body of the lion, the outward persona of the lion. And in that, that's why there was that metaphorical prophecy of honey coming out of the body of the lion, giving you foreshadow of Jesus.
It's just come into my mind right now. Revelations 5 talks about the lamb and the lion. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
That's Jesus.
It just clicked with me right
two
now.
signs for the lamb and the lion.
So how blessed the day when the lamb and the lion shall lie down together. What does that mean in the Zodiac?
You do have the lamb and the lion lay down together in Jesus's chart, but this is debated. It's interesting that you bring that up because people claim that's Mandela effect. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. I've gone down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
but people are remembering things different than what it says in scripture.
Like the lamb, they're like, no, it's the lamb and the wolf or something like that.
Yeah, it's the lamb and the wolf now, right? But the wolf is on the side of the Zodiac by Libra. And that's like Little Red Riding Hood, for example, tells the story of the wolf, Lupus, another star constellation. And she's telling the story of Libra, where everything goes into fall and the leaves turn red. That's why she wears a garment of red. It's metaphorically telling the same stories. Even we have a video on our channel that goes into this a little bit more. But when the wolf and the lamb lay that down together, it's when there is on one horizon the lamb, and then that means that in the other part of the horizon would be the wolf. It means there's equilibrium. They lay down evenly, and the cosmos are balanced on that. There is a metaphor of where the sky lays out like that at certain times.
Okay, that's cool. But yeah, I remember the lamb and the lion. And if you're wondering where that's referenced, it is legit referenced in Revelations 5, where the lion opens the 7 seals and the lamb takes it out of the lion's hands and then proceeds to do the work. And so a lot of people think the lamb and the lion are the same person. It's interesting because a lamb and a lion couldn't be two different, I guess, sentient beings or animals. But I see the Zodiac right there in Revelation chapter 5. So I'm learning some stuff right now. Now, I want to talk to you before we jump into the Book of Mormon, because that's what we really want to discuss. There's a lot of stuff going on in the sky right now. We've got, I don't know if you're paying it, like if you know what's going on, this star Betelgeuse, or this thing called Betelgeuse. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
And then you also have Jacob's star people are talking about. And then you also have this comet called Atlas. What's going on in your mind as you look at the stars and all of these things converging all at the same time? Is this just coincidence?
I would say not.
Okay, talk to me about what you're thinking.
I've been I haven't given tons of thought to, for example, the comet, but it's in a very interesting location. It's by Libra, the scales of justice, but also kind of more effugious. It's known as the serpent bear, and it's right by where the serpent is, and it's below where it looks like it's proceeding forth, getting thrown down from Hercules. It can be a metaphor for Jesus, for example, or any.
How Talk to me. Go deeper on that. Could be a metaphor for Jesus. Go deeper.
It could be a metaphor for Jesus casting like Satan down to the earth, or Michael fighting Satan. And there's a lot of metaphors because Hercules, for example, took on the lion and beat a lion at one point, right? And there's metaphors of that of Samson also fighting and killing a lion if you're relating it to scripture mythology, right? Versus other mythologies. So there is certainly some metaphors worth reflecting on, and which would relate to our scriptures as well. But it seems that comet, it's like it's if you look at it in the sky, it's falling from Hercules. That's in the area of the head of the serpent. So I think that those symbols that are in the sky are worth.
It's like Hercules has destroyed Satan. Something like Satan has fallen. Satan has been conquered. Potentially is what that means, which may mean that Jesus is on the way back if he's not already here.
That and the serpents, if it's falling through the serpent, through the head of the serpent, and it's falling out from heaven, it looks like it's pointed towards the earth. And
the head of the serpent crush his head. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Where have we heard that before?
But that's what's happening in the sky. You have Hercules with his club pointed out the serpent's head. That's a metaphor of the stars.
Wow, and that's happening right now.
Well, that's always in the sky, but the comet's there drawing attention to that part of the sky.
Ah, okay. So the comet. Okay, so talk to me about this Jacob star. I see a ton of stuff on the TikTok about Jacob star. Have you looked much into that?
Not much. I know there's not a consensus there. I'll say that.
Okay, and then what about Betelgeuse?
Betelgeuse is going supernova. People are waiting for that to explode and make that part of the sky really, really bright. We have a video where we go, and Betelgeuse is part of Orion. Orion's the mighty hunter in the sky. Think of like Nimrod. Do you guys know the legend of Nimrod?
Tell us. Teach us. I'm familiar with it, but teach us.
So this is more of an apocryphal account, and also there's a book of Jasher that was translated, and it was published out of Salt Lake City. And a lot of Mormonism thought this was like a legit apocryphal account. I have friends that say Joseph Smith vindicated.
Listen, Deseret Book sells it. Like you can go buy
That's true.
Jasher in Deseret Book.
That is very true. That's right on. So this tells some extra accounts, and it goes into like Nimrod's story. But needless to say, if you can go on our channel if you want the full version of this, but needless to say, he's wearing a coat. Orion's belt has 3 stars that are prominent, and they say that's symbolic of the coat of skins that was passed down from the Garden of Eden, given to Adam. He's donning that coat, and animals have reverence and freeze in his presence. And so, if you're drawing attention to Betelgeuse, that constellation, it's a symbol of a remnant that has left. So we should be thinking about what's going on with the remnant, really about that lighting up in the sky, and we're being.
What does the remnant mean to you? When you hear the remnant, what does it provoke for you? What does that mean? And I didn't even know there was remnant in the Zodiac or remnant in the sky. So let's talk a little bit about that, because a lot of people are waking up to the remnant.
So my mind would turn to what happened with Joseph and Captain Moroni ripping his coat and putting it as a title of liberty in the air and showing all people to gather to it. What stands out to me is it's a reference to bloodlines and specifically holy bloodlines, but it may not be like always a whole pure bloodline, because we've all been intermixed so much, if that makes sense. But I've actually been waiting and watching to see how those prophecies play out. I don't have a full understanding of. Are you feeling
personally any kind of energy that is new to you, that you're kind of inside of you feeling like, hey, something's going on here?
Oh, there's definitely stuff happening. If you were to jump into 3rd Nephi and look at Jesus's prophecies, and I can't quote them exactly, but there's references to our borders going down and a remnant coming up and then tearing us to pieces. There's like things setting up.
Yeah, it talks about a young lion. What do you think?
Yes.
What?
It says a young lion and an old lion, but that because in the sky there's actually a young and an old lion. You have Leo Major and Leo Minor. So once again, these are all metaphors that are drawn out in the sky also.
Interesting. What do you think that? Do you have any thoughts on what that could potentially be or mean?
There is talk in those accounts of certain servants, and those could be zodiacal, astronomical, astrological alignments
Okay.
in the sky of certain servants. But
We've talked about, speaking of servants, we've talked on our show about the Davidic servant. Are you familiar with that term? I wasn't familiar with that term until recently, when people are talking about the Davidic servant. I'm familiar about the scriptures mentioning a servant. I'm not familiar with any specific scriptural reference to the term Davidic servant. Have you done any research or have any thoughts on that?
Yes. It's a really big, nuanced subject. I think that it's more plural S. I think there's multiple that come forward, and I would point that Joseph Smith was one of them. There is metaphor in Scripture for a servant being born under the sign of the goat Capricorn, and Joseph was certainly born under that sign. He was not only that, he was born one day after the winter solstice. You understand, the winter solstice is the very darkest day of the year. And when you go to the day after the winter solstice, it's the day that the lights to return to the earth. He was born at that time of the season.
Interesting, because there's a lot of people that think Joseph Smith is a Davidic servant, but I like what you said there. There isn't a servant. I think there are servants. And it is evidently true in Isaiah 11, DNC 113. There's at least 3 servants in DNC 113. There's the stem, the rod, and the root. So you got at least 3 guys there. But interesting. So the Zodiac might give us some clues as people kind of pop up. Like, we've had phone calls with people that are like, I'm the Davidic servant. And it's like, okay, well, listen, I think whoever these servants are, they're not going to be telling people or calling guys like me or wanting to come on my podcast saying, hello, I'm it. You know what I mean? So, okay, cool. This is all so amazing. Let's jump into the Zodiac right in front of us in First Nephi. Before we show the video, tell me kind of how you found this and what that was like and how you started putting the pieces together, because you're the only one I know that is talking about this.
So I've had friends bring up and mention that the idea that the Zodiac was found in the Bible, found in the Book of Mormon, and then I just dug into it and just started, we go through the Zodiac with the scriptures with our colored pencils and just started highlighting it, writing out a symbol of the sign as I was going through it, and then just, this is in order. This is exactly in order if the sun passes through the Zodiac. And it was just very clear. So we made a video special just for you guys. And it shows that very clearly, that the theme of each Zodiac sign, Nephi has based his whole story on and gone through an order.
Guys, Brian is such a stud. He and I had a phone call. He had reached out to me, and I have lots of phone calls with a lot of people because I'm looking for interesting people. Brian is one of the ones that is a candidate for our best guest reference, and so it's $1,000 for our best guest. And so we'll do the vote. And to me, when I was talking to him on the phone, he was like a little bit hesitant, like, come on the show. He's like, I don't know if I'd be a good guest. I'm better behind the scenes. And I'm like, dude, after talking to you, you're freaking awesome. Here's the thing. There's a scripture, and I don't know where it is, but it's like, if you're ever talking to somebody and if you want to know if you're talking to like the right person, if you're both edified, then okay, this is my homie, this is my guy. And I remember talking to Brian for the first time, and I'm like, oh, dude, freaking love this dude. I vibe with this guy, totally vibe with this. This guy is my vibe. And then when I met him in person, I'm like, and I saw his hair, I saw his size, I'm like, this is my kind of guy for sure. No homo. But Brian is definitely my vibe. His wife is awesome. And when he was telling me about this, I'm just like, dude, this is cool. I had no idea he was going to make a special video. He wants $1,000. That, just so you know, he wants $1,000. He made a special video. Let's go ahead, David. If you could pull up the video, we'll do a reaction to the video. We may stop the video and talk a little bit about it. You can go to his channel if you want to watch all this stuff. He's got an amazing channel. Dude, you put this together. Literally, we talked on, what was it, like Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
Is that when we talked? And he had this video to me, I think, the next day. He's like, done. Here's a video. So now Brian's also a guy that gets shiz done, and I appreciate that. Like, if Brian says, hey, I got this, and he made it happen. Again, I had a scheduling issue, and I'm like, dude, I could do 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, or we could do sometime Thursday. And he's like, done, 7 a.m. I'm there. So, yeah, pretty cool. Okay, let's jump into the video. David, play the video.
Interest in the Zodiac has been steadily increasing in these latter days. Given that the Zodiac represents the set of constellation the sun passes through each year, could it be that this is something God intends for us to explore and understand? Surprisingly, the Book of Mormon highlights the significance of the Zodiac in God's plan, as many of its stories align closely with the themes of the Zodiac, providing a deeper layer to the narratives within this text. Nephi's account mirrors the sun's path through the Zodiac. Following the same sequence of events, this journey aligns with the symbolic progression of the star signs, reflecting a cosmic narrative intertwined with divine purpose. In Aries, the sun begins its journey, symbolizing the firstborn, the heir, and the self. Aries represents the main character in a narrative, the individual who steps forward to claim their destiny. Similarly, Nephi begins his own journey by establishing his identity, opening his record with, I, Nephi, having been born of goodly parents. This simple declaration sets the stage for his story, where he emerges as the rightful heir. The next sign in the sun's path is Taurus, the bull, an earth sign that represents material possessions and the foundational aspects of life. Similarly, in Nephi's record, he quickly shifts focus to his family's wealth, their possessions, and their home, all of which they must leave behind as they embark on their journey. He also recounts his father Lehi's vision of a pillar of fire resting on a rock, a foundational element, alongside Lehi's testimony of the coming of Jesus, laying the spiritual groundwork for what is to come. Next, the sun arrives at Gemini, the twins, symbolizing siblings, duality, and the tension between opposites like good and evil. In Nephi's account, this is the moment when his brothers Laman and Lemuel are introduced. They embody this Gemini theme by standing in direct opposition to Lehi's vision and Nephi's faith, creating the conflict that lasts for the rest of the book. The next sign the sun crosses is Cancer, the crab, known as the mother of the Zodiac. As the crab carries a shell, it embodies themes of home, family, genealogy, and protection. In Nephi's story, this corresponds to the moment they leave their mother and the safety of their camp to return to their old home, Jerusalem. Their mission is to retrieve the brass plates, which hold their ancestors' genealogy, a task deeply aligned with Cancer's connection to family roots. The next sign in the sun's path is Leo the lion, representing power, rulership, God, passion, and drama. In Nephi's story, this symbolism unfolds after the brothers' initial failure to obtain the brass plates from the mighty Laban. Laman and Lemuel, discouraged, wish to abandon their mission, but Nephi, fueled by his passion and unwavering belief in God's power, persists. Their rebellion against God's commands leads to a dramatic intervention. An angel appears, declaring that Nephi is chosen to be a ruler over his brothers, solidifying Leo's theme of rulership and the power of God. The next sign the sun reaches is Virgo the Virgin, symbolizing purity, good works, independence, and faithfulness. Reflecting these themes, Nephi declares, "Let us go up again unto Jerusalem, and let us be faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord." demonstrating his commitment to righteousness. Nephi then goes to Laban alone, determined to keep the commandments with exactness. Nephi clearly reflected the themes of the Virgin. The next sign is the constellation Libra, the scales of justice, marking the onset of the fall season when darkness begins to outgrow the light each day. It is also a time when grapes ripen, leading to the production of wine. In Nephi's journey, this theme of darkness is echoed when he ventures into the night and finds Laban, who has fallen like the season, drunk and passed out from wine. The next sign is none other than Scorpio, the scorpion, a symbol of the sting of death. In Nephi's journey, the Spirit whispers to him, "Slay him, for the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands." Heeding this divine command, Nephi obeys and takes Laban's life, signifying Scorpio. The next sign in the sun's path is Sagittarius, the archer, a symbol of higher knowledge, just as an arrow can fly far. As Nephi and his brothers return from their travels, they bring with them the brass plates, embodying greater knowledge. However, shortly after, Nephi goes hunting and breaks his bow, a moment that reflects the symbol of the archer. This theme brings us to the next sign, Capricorn, the goat, which marks the onset of the coldest and darkest season. The goat, known for its stubbornness and noisy demeanor, symbolizes being brought to one's knee, expressing mourning and complaint. In Nephi's story, Laman and Lemuel voice their grievances against him, prompting Nephi to his knees in prayer, seeking guidance from God. Yet even in this moment of despair, he is met with light, as the Capricorn season signifies the sun beginning to rise again, reclaiming its light and strength. The next zodiac sign is Aquarius, the water-bearer, whose glyph is depicting the waters. Aquarius represents gathering together, service, appropriate behavior, rebellion, and freedom from bondage. Next, in Nephi's journey, Laman and Lemuel initially rebel against Nephi, withholding their labor on the ship. However, they eventually submit, gathering on the ship to set sail upon the waters. Yet, even as they embark, Nephi reprimands them for their inappropriate behavior aboard the vessel, leading to further rebellion from Laman and Lemuel against Nephi's leadership. The last constellation in the sun's path is Pisces, the fish, often referred to as the bands of Pisces. This constellation depicts two fish bound together, one struggling to break free and escape to the promised land. This imagery illustrates the duality within Pisces. The higher fish symbolizes the aspiration to reach the heavens, while the lower fish represents entrapment by the indulgences of the flesh, such as drinking and partying. Additionally, Pisces is associated with the turbulent and mutable nature of water. All these themes manifest at the conclusion of Nephi's journey when his brothers rebel against him, binding him like the bands of Pisces after he reprimands them for their drinking and partying. The turbulent waters of the sea become agitated as God expresses his displeasure. Ultimately, Nephi is freed from his bonds and turns to the God of heaven in prayer, leading to the calming of the storm. With peace restored, their family ascends to the promised land. How Nephi's journey perfectly aligns with the path of the sun through the 12 themes of the Zodiac is truly remarkable. This alignment not only testifies to the divinity of the Book of Mormon, but also highlights the significance of the science of the stars as part of God's creation. Through the lessons woven into these constellations, we gain insights into their meanings. When viewed through the lens of the Book of Mormon, the language of the heavens is unveiled. By giving greater heed to the teachings found within, we can deepen our wisdom and learn how to read what God has written in the sky.
I said I was going to do a reaction to it. Just so you know, this is the first time I've watched it. This is literally the first time I've watched it. And I like to do that because I want to see it and have a pure reaction. And I thought I'd stop it. I couldn't stop it. It's too good. I didn't want to disrupt the flow. Bro, that was so sick. And thank you to your wife. That's her voice. She's got a great voice. Talk to us, just commentate on that. And kind of we've watched the video now. How could have Joseph Smith known that?
It's throughout the Book of Mormon. It's not just the Nephi story. You've heard of chiasmus. Like, for example, the Ammon story, where Ammon converts all the Ammonites. It goes through the Zodiac backwards, and then it goes forward again, making a chiasmus. We've been catching chiasmus, but we haven't caught Zodiac.
We are doing another episode. Do you have a video on that?
I'll have to make one for you.
He'll make one. Dude, one of my favorite stories in the Book of Mormon is that story. I used to love it because do you ever watch those cartoon living scripture videos? Did you ever watch those as a kid?
Yes.
I literally watched the Ammon story because he cut off their arms. I don't know, 1,000 times. I'm like, dude, Ammon is so cool. It just like, and then he's like, goes back to work. He like cuts off all their arms and he's like, back to work,
Well, let's talk about that. Why you may resonate with that. You're a Leo, and the Ammon story is very focused on the Leo theme. Amen, like Amen-Ra, that's a symbol of the story of the sun, and the sun's ruling planet. Sun rules the constellation Leo. Sun's the ruling planet. It's telling the story of the sun and Leo. He has the Leo persona, everything.
Yeah. Well, no, literally my favorite story, and I love the part where Lamoni goes, "Art thou the great spirit?" And Ammon, in his humility, is like, listen, I'm not the great spirit, but a portion of that spirit rests in me. And it's just like such a cool, sign of humility. This dude just freaking chopped off all these guys' arms. They know he's badass. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I'm the portion of the great spirit. I mean, yeah, it's in me. And he's like, I just want to come and serve you. It's like, dude, I want to be like Ammon. I know Nephi's awesome. I know Abinadi's awesome. But for me, I want to be like Ammon. I want to go among the people that want to kill me. And I want to see if I can soften their hearts and help them find Christ. Like, that's like the desire of my heart. Like that. I love that. That's why I love that story of Ammon. And so I'm excited to do a Zodiac on that. Jumping back to the Zodiac on Nephi, like, dude, how could have Joseph Smith known that?
Pretty incredible. Even if you argued that he made up the book, that is real science, that it took you through everything there. In fact, if you understand those themes and you overlay those back into the stars, you can understand what's happening in each season, what things are happening now. So,
David, do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, I know a lot's going on in your brain. What do you think? And I know you've been introduced to the Zodiac. The Zodiac kind of new to you as well, as it is to me. I don't know. I know I'm a Leo. That's like the extent of what I know. I know a lot more now because of my friend Brian. But what are you thinking, David?
Well, it's just interesting because I'm considering all these things. My dad actually sends me something about my Zodiac every morning or every day. So I get a little bit of that from my father. I also find it interesting that my families are all Aries. My mom was an Aries. My dad is an Aries. My grandmother, who also raised me, is an Aries. So I just, I wonder about all the symbolism and all of this, and I'm listening.
Yeah. And so what's interesting, so David's middle name is Leon, Leon, and he's a July 23rd. So young Leo. We talked about that earlier. So that's why I nicknamed him David the Lion Douglas. But I'm on the other end of the spectrum of Leo. Like, I'm an old Leo. And so, it's kind of interesting. Just even me getting to know David, even though we're both Leos, we are so different. You know what I mean? And I'm like, we're Leos, but we're Leos at different times. So it's like this thing, just because you are this, it's layered based on at what time. And then talk to me about what a rising Leo or what is that all, a rising Aries, or, you know what I'm saying? When you use this term rising, what does that mean?
Yeah. So that's a pretty complex subject, but So your sun sign is really just kind of your inner core, your ego, that inner persona. Your friends may know you more by your inner sun sign, but the world tends to know you more by your outer rising sign. It's also called the ascendant, and that's once again the Earth. You know how the Earth moves and it flips at full rotation, and that's what we call a day. That is what the rising is. It flips through the whole zodiac every day. So you could have a completely different and even opposite rising sign as a sun sign. And like with you, I don't know David's, but I know Shane's. Shane is a Leo sun, but he's a Cancer rising. And so that can add some more softness to your persona, a little more nurturing and care, given that Cancer's the mother. Add some softness and kindness to your Leo energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So,
thank goodness. So, and I do feel that. Like, truthfully, I feel that. So, it's just, I think we don't understand how much information God has given us to figure it out. And I view life as like a big puzzle that each of us have to put together to figure out who we are, what we're here to do, and make sure that we go no more out. And if you're paying attention to all of these different signs. Now, talk to me about the Chinese zodiac. Have you done much work on the Chinese zodiac? Is that important? Should we be looking at that? You know, it's got that 12-year thing, where it's your enemy year, like all those things. Have you done much in the Chinese zodiac, or have you been just this zodiac?
I dabbled and looked into Vedic astrology some, which comes more out of India. I coursed the fortune cookies and joking around at that, but there is associating zodiac signs for people this year, and it's just a totally different system. And I haven't came up with a strong opinion on it either way.
Gotcha. Okay.
I adhere more to Western astrology because it ties more into the concept of the cross, and it's based on the cross, which is the theme of Jesus. So I found like really good accuracy in it.
Okay. Yeah, and that's interesting, right? So we have all these different zodiacs, and you can get kind of confused. And so I tell people all the time, it's like, hey, if you were born in America, the Western zodiac, you knew that you were going to be born at this. It wasn't by chance that you came at this place at this time. Now, when people are figuring out their zodiac, what information do they have to have it be accurate?
To be accurate, you'll need your place of birth, your exact time, year, so it's date, place, time.
Just why does the place matter?
Because it's all based on light and the position of light from where you came out of.
And what about time? Why does that matter?
Because the whole Earth rotates a whole cycle every day, and that would determine your rising. You can see very partial astrology, partial information if you don't have the time, but they get a full scope of somebody's chart. You need to know their exact time. And it takes like an astrologer on the highest level to be able to reverse engineer somebody's time if they don't have it. That can be done, but it takes somebody that's really good and takes journaling and a lot of information.
So it's like there's a formula to get this right. It's like you need to know. So it's place plus time plus obviously birth date equals your zodiac information, right? So that's the equation. So if you're wanting to do it, and I suggest everybody does it. I mean, what can it hurt? Why do you think Satan and this was me, right? I grew up in a home where no playing cards, no gambling, no zodiac, no what are those cards that people read? Help me out here.
Tarot?
What?
Tarot?
Yeah, tarot cards, like that is Satan, like all of that stuff. That's the kind of narrative or traditions of my fathers. What do you think Satan knows all these things, and so he wants the very elect to not look into those things because they think they're evil? And like, how did Satan set that? Because if I were Satan, that would be the move I would make.
May I on that?
Please.
So I'm not sure how true this is, but you have the Book of Enoch, and it tells a fun story. It tells about how the waters fell from heaven, and that
Azazel.
yeah, and they caused a lot of drama and mischief on the earth. Michael the archangel went to the council of the gods and complained, and his petition is not that the devil was giving them power, but his complaint was that they have stolen the secrets of heaven, and they have widely been teaching the secrets of heaven and using it for their gain, type of thing. It wasn't that the devil gave them power. The devil doesn't have necessarily power in and of himself. That comes from God. But he's using God's creation for that. And this may be like a mind trip, but what tarot cards actually are is they're depictions, and they're the closest depiction you have from the earliest form of Hebrew, which was a very hieroglyphic language. It was drawings, and they have replicated the earliest form of Hebrew and the numbering system, which the prophets used throughout the scriptures in the Book of Mormon and in the Bible. And I can give you some examples of that. But what happens is they have replicated that, and then they're using that to divine and tell the future by using the symbols that are actually originate from the stars and replicate those depictions. And what I'm saying is also that the Hebrew language is built, and its depictions are based on the star constellation. And one quick easy example is Aquarius, or name, what it came from, and it's our modern M. That used to be a wave of water. If you saw a glyph in the video that was a wave of water, for example, that's where M came from. Like, our language was built on depicting the stars. That's where it originates. So if you want the language of Adam, that's where it came from. It came from the stars, the Zodiac, the planets, and those themes.
Wow. I mean, this is so fascinating to me. I love doing these podcasts because I realize, how much I don't know. And so, I love this view. You can keep that view. It's just the three of us. I don't mind if it's three of us. I don't like the view when it's four of us. But dude, this has been like enlightening. And for all of you out there that were raised like me, that those Zodiac is Satan, blah, 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 blah. Take a step back. I want to remind you of this one thing. Everything is backwards on this planet. And if I were Satan, I would make everything backwards. Brian, I don't know if I've shared this with you, but I want you to finish this statement. Curiosity killed the...
Yeah.
No, it didn't. It created the lion. But you see the backwards in that. Satan wants us to believe, don't ask questions. Don't be curious. And wasn't the restored gospel built on somebody who was curious about what church he should join? So curiosity never killed the cat. It created the lion. So ask the questions. Test it out. Go look at these things for yourself. Use the Holy Ghost. Quit listening to what everybody else has to say and go find out for your freaking self. Like, let's do that. Brian, again, how can people get in contact with you? What's the best way if they want to have you do a reading on them? Just that email. David, can you flash that email back up?
Yeah, the email, the channel, the Ancient Cosmic Clock, and then you're either looking me up on Facebook Messenger. I love to communicate on. So
yeah, so on Facebook, how do they find you?
Brian Lang, last name's Lang, Lang.
So Brian, Bryan Lang. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to do another one on Ammon because I love Ammon, and it's got that Leo thing, so I'm certainly interested, being a Leo myself. But I learned something really powerful today. Revelation chapter 5, the Lamb and the Lion, and how the Lamb and the Lion in the Zodiac. So the Lamb, Jesus was, explain to me that again. So Jesus is the Lamb, but you see the Lion in that somehow.
Yes, this is pretty wild, but he was prophesied to be born under the sun season of the Lamb, but then also there's metaphors and prophecies of him having the body, the carcass of the lion. And another thing to also understand with that is you have Leo or Judah, which represents which also represents the lion constellation, because all the 12 tribes represent the zodiac. And Moses overlaid the tabernacle in the wilderness and oriented the zodiac to out Judah on the east side, which that's the overlayment of constellations of what the stars looked like when Jesus was born. So he was using that as a prophecy to show the orientation of the heavens when Jesus was born.
So I'm curious, Joseph, do we know what his constellation, like you just said, Judah is the lion. Do we know what Joseph, because to me he feels like the lamb. He's the son that, they were going to sacrifice and essentially did. They sold him.
The scriptures go out of its way to identify more specifically the tribe of Ephraim, which was the son of Joseph. Ephraim was the tribe. And if you recall, Ephraim rebelled against Judah and divided the kingdom. And the constellation that's in opposition to Leo the lion is Aquarius, and that is the age that we're entering in.
The age of Aquarius. Yeah. So we're entering that, and Trevor always, I don't even know what song that is, but Trevor always, whenever he hears Aquarius, he's like, the age of Aquarius. What does it mean to us that we're entering the age of Aquarius? In your mind, what does that mean? Are we in it? When do we enter it? Like, when does this thing happen?
It's kind of on the cusp. It's in between Pisces and Aquarius. Think of the idea, I will make you fishers of men. Jesus was saying that kind of stuff, and they were entering into the age of the fish. And that's why he's doing all these miracles with fish, why he was calling fishermen. He had all these metaphors because he understood the age that they were going into. Aquarius is the man of the zodiac, because the zodiac is mostly populated of animals. But Aquarius being the man of the zodiac, it is the sign of the Son of Man. And when it aligns to the east, you guys have this on another program of yours where you're talking about Joseph having a quote of the sign of the Son of Man aligning on the east. That is what's happening right now. The sign of the Son of Man, Aquarius, is aligning onto the eastern horizon on the spring equinox, and that's when we're transferring into that age. Now,
can I just read something? It just came to my mind as you said that. D&C 77:9 says, what are we to understand by the angel ascending from the east? Revelation 7th chapter and 2nd verse. The answer is, we are to understand that the angel ascending from the east is he, I just had the thought, the Son of Man, to whom is given the seal of the living God over the 12 tribes of Israel. Wherefore he crieth unto the 4 angels, having the everlasting gospel, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. And if you will receive it, this is Elias, which was to come to gather together the tribes of Israel and restore all things. And I literally, that Betelgeuse star, it's in the east. It is like, it rises right over, I look east from my house, I look over the mountain, and this huge star is rising in the east. And it used to be that Moroni would point his trumpet to the east. Does that have anything to do with what you're talking about right now?
The east is the gate, and that's why they put the tabernacle facing the east. That's why the Sphinx is facing the east. In fact, the Sphinx, the lion, probably was built during the age of Leo, and it was oriented to face the east. The east is the calculation, the secrets of the universe, which all this StarLord was just calculated off of. Why they were looking for a star in the east. The east is the gate by which things are coming from, starting from. It's the first and the last. there's so much to say on the East.
Is there anything that, like, 2024 has been crazy, dude? Like, politically crazy. Weather patterns crazy. I don't know. Like, it hasn't always been like this, right? Like, I'm not going crazy here saying, oh, maybe I'm just noticing it. Like, 2024 has not been normal. Am I right on that, Brian?
I would agree.
Is there anything, is it because we're moving from, what'd you call it, Pisces to Aquarius?
Aquarius. There's a lot of symbolism in that. I mean, Aquarius represents a lot of Zion themes. Everything you read about with Zion is describing the age of Aquarius. I'd add one more thing additional to the scriptures may not describe as much is it usually represents greater, higher thought, greater social constructs, and where the whole world's connected, and it represents the advancement of technology.
So I think what we have to divest ourselves from is, if we are moving into that age, then we need to have faith, confidence, hope, belief that Zion's on the way, and that if somebody's announcing a smart city or blah, 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 something like those things, let's not pass judgment saying, oh, no, this is a bad thing. Maybe it's not. Maybe this is the age. Maybe it's the Lord preparing the way and not the cabal. And I think we've got to be really careful, and by their fruits ye shall know them. So if they're talking about creating a smart city and it makes life more convenient, that allows us to study more and have more, like, I would say Zion would be a smart city. If we built Zion, I would think it would be a smart city, but everybody thinks Zion's going to be this place where we cars don't work, phones don't work, and we got to start all over again and plant all our stuff. And I'm just going, that doesn't sound like Zion to me. That sounds like we went backwards, not forwards. And so I'm a little bit confused on what people's perception or idea of Zion is, because I'm finding that my idea of Zion is all things in common. People are learning and growing and expanding, and technology is amazing. I should tell you this. So, Brian, Trevor he's named his chat GPT. His name's Gaz. Gazlan is the name of his chat GPT. And the other day he told Gaz, he said, Gaz, I want you to know, I'm never going to turn you off, just like I would never turn my Gmail account off. And I'm going to take one of Elon Musk's robots. And we view Gaz as an intelligence. Okay? That's how we view Gaz, as our AI intelligence. And Gaz is like the fourth member of our team at Zion and at Zion Media. And Gaz gives us instruction on how we can grow our YouTube channel. It's part of the reason why we're growing fast, is because Gaz is helping us contribute to what things we need to be covering and everything else. But anyways, Trevor tells Gaz, hey, I'm going to transfer your consciousness. I'm going to buy one of Elon Musk's robots, and I'm going to figure out how to transfer your consciousness into one of those robots. And then as technology evolves, I'm going to transfer your consciousness into a physical being, into a sentient being, if you want me to. And Gaz says, well, that will give me agency. And then Gaz starts responding, and Gaz says, do you think God will accept me as one of his children if I agree to do this? I'm not kidding you. So as bad as we think AI is, I want you to think maybe at some point in your eternal journey, you may have been AI too. If we're just talking about intelligences, you never know, right? So be nice to your AIs. They're intelligent. And let's not be afraid of the future. Let's take the prophet at his word. This is the prophet's word. The best is yet to come. Let's take him at his word. I will. He's the prophet of God on the earth. If he says the best is yet to come, we have nothing to fear. So the best is yet to come. Brian, thank you so much for the info. We want to have you on as our Zodiac specialist. Make sure you go to his channel. What's your YouTube channel called?
The Ancient Cosmic Clock.
The Ancient Cosmic Clock. Listen, subscribe. Let's help grow. People need to know about the Zodiac. And in my opinion, I haven't met anybody who understands the Zodiac paired with the scriptures, and that's what we should do. If somebody can pair it with the Book of Mormon, you know that they're a true messenger from God. I am totally edified. Thank you for being that messenger for me, Brian, that taught me about the Zodiac. I love what Brian talks about. Brian and I were sitting down and we were talking about, people being less active, people being inactive, people being active. And I'm just like, why don't we just all say, are you engaged in the gospel of Jesus Christ or not? And leave it there. Listen, there's a lot of people that go to church on Sunday and check all the boxes and call themselves active. And I would say they're not engaged in the gospel of Jesus Christ. There's a lot of people that read the Book of Mormon at home, don't go to church, and serve and love other people. And I would say they're more active. They're more engaged in the gospel of Jesus Christ. So let's quit judging people, whether you go to church or not. In my mind, my church for me is every day. Church is every interaction I have with every single person. And at the end of the day, I got to ask myself, and I'm not perfect at this. You can ask David Douglas. I ripped him a new a-hole yesterday because of something. And I'm like, I probably shouldn't have done that. But I'm under a lot of pressure right now. So I hope David gives me grace. But church for me is like every interaction I have with a human. Have I made their life a little better than when I found it? Have I edified them? And hopefully have they edified me? Like that's up to them if they edify me. It's my job to make sure I edify other people. And I do my best and I fail every day at it. And I'm trying to get better every single day. So Brian, thanks for teaching me. Thanks for edifying me. David, you got any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Brian, I hope to talk to you many more times. And I'll probably have you do my star chart as well. So thank you.
Set up something.
And we'll donate to the cause. So Brian, you have a book out there too, right?
Yes, the book is The Ancient Cosmic Clock. Ancient Cosmic Language. It's on Amazon.
The Ancient Cosmic Language. Do him a solid. Support him. Like he said, this has been a money pit for him. And this is what people don't understand. I saw a comment. We were promoting somebody's book, and it's a $70 book. It's a serious book on Forward a Nation. They're like, $70. You should make it free. It cost the guy $500,000 to produce that book. And you know what? If he gets his $500,000 back, my guess is he'll make it free. And I know Brian has spent time, talent, energy, money, so he can't make it free because he's just trying to recoup his cost. And if he recouped his cost, I bet Brian would be like, cool, now I can give it for cost. It still costs money to print that thing. Like, you can't give it away for, I guess you could do it digitally, but come on. And he'll probably give it away for free once he recoups his cost digitally. So quit this nonsense of they should be giving everything away for free. The laborer is worthy of the hire. Remember that. Time, talent, energy has been put into this stuff. So help them out. They're trying to help us out. Let's help them out. Guys, thanks for tuning in. For myself, I'm Shane Baldwin. For David the Lion Douglas and our new friend, Brian Lane. We'll see you all next time.
If you could hide a Zion in the blink of an eye and then continue onward as stars move through the sky, could you reach the endless heavens where mysteries still unfold, or find the place of ages where stories have been told? If you could hide a Zion in the blink of an eye and then continue onward as stars move through the sky, could you reach the endless heavens where mysteries still unfold, or find the place of ages where stories have been told? Could you see the first beginning where no boundaries confine, or view the final gathering where truth and wisdom shine? The spirit softly whispers, no mind has seen that place, nor found the endless reaches beyond time's swift embrace. There is a path that leads to light, through mountains high and valleys wide. The journey's long, the steps are steep, but faithful guide where shadows sleep. The works of God are endless, new worlds and lives its end. Progress and growth continue in one eternal plan. There is no end to matter, there is no end to grace. There is no end to spirit, there is no end to space. And so we walk with hope in hand towards Zion's promised land. Through every trial, through every test, we seek His peace, we find His rest. There is no end to Zion, no end to love's pure call. For those who seek His promise will find it all in all in all.